So it's end of September, and as you know, this is another quarter that just finishes itself. Okay, so make sure to subscribe and like this video if you want to support the channel. 500 likes. This is something that I would love to see on this video. And we are talking about 5 crazy stocks that could explode during the earnings season. Okay, the earnings season will start in about 2 to 3 weeks, and it usually starts with banks that report first, and then all the other companies are following. So there's actually a couple of companies that I look forward to because they could bring us great surprise, and this could lead to a stock price explosion. Okay, so if you consider all of these segments, you have to always understand, okay, there's a couple of things. First, it needs to be surprisingly good, okay? Second, you need to have a kind of theory why the stock should explode. And third, I think there's also a big fundamental. Here we will talk about all the fundamentals of each of the stocks and look into the stock chart. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first stock is Snapchat. Yes, this social media that you might used over the last couple of months. Specifically in the summer, people tend to share more because they are traveling, they are outside, right? They are doing something. It's better than in the winter where they just more consuming. But however, both has, let's say, advantages and disadvantages. However, Snapchat just went crazy last earnings. Okay, the last earnings was here. Okay, somewhere around the 19th of July, and the stock just gained about 20% in one day after the earnings. The earnings were tremendously good. And why? Because the advertising that Snapchat just introduced a couple of years ago is obviously growing and growing and growing. Now, have a look what happened in the last Q3 earnings of the stock. Okay, this was somewhere around the 18th of October, and also here the stock gained more than 15%. So you can imagine, when I'm looking into the ads revenue, I'm comparing it to the one of the biggest dinosaur of social media, Facebook, right? And as you can see here in these files, that the growth of marketing dollar for Facebook have grown over time, which means that I can assume that it will also grow for Snapchat. So I assume that maybe we having another surprise here, that Snapchat just making so much revenue on the ads on their platform, that this is super interesting. But let's have a look into the chart, what we're seeing here, which kind of trends we see in this concept that I just explained could be also, supported by a nice outlook in the stock chart. Snap chart, you see something that was breaking out here specifically when we had the last earnings. We basically went way up through the 50 moving average, and we are staying above, and which is since about here on the 1st of September 2020 an upward trend. Okay, and as billionaire and top trader says, look at the 200 moving average, which is the red line here. It's also above, so the overall trend line is definitely going up, which means that with great numbers or a great surprise, this stock can really shoot up. So I'm super curious what the market will see here and what Snap will report, but the chances are pretty good that we have here a nice bull run after the earnings. The next company that I think could explode is actually Callaway. Callaway is the manufacturer and market leader in golf equipment. And golf equipment through the health crisis got a huge jump. Okay, that's why the stock went from, in the last couple of months, from about $18-17 to now $30. So we doubled since 1 year approximately. Okay, and if we're going even further away, then you can see since the health crisis, where we were at 10, we gained 472%. But however, there was something in the last earnings that was a little bit bad for me. Okay, because I have bought some short-term call options because I thought the numbers were great and the stock will raise, okay? Because I think there's a huge value behind the company. They just acquired Topgolf, and as you know, Topgolf is this amazing company that actually should have their own IPO and was cancelled, and then, you know, Callaway came in and bought the company for like $2.5 billion, and now the overall company is worth $5.68 billion. So I think that, you know, it's way undervalued for the growth opportunity of Topgolf. So, however, what happened was I bought the company or the call options, and the first days to the earnings were great. I made like 30% in just a few days, but then the earnings came out, which was tremendously good, the best result that you can wish, and the stock went down 5%. And the craziest part, and I have seen something like this maybe never in my career, okay? They actually were up 7% after hours, okay? So after they showed their earnings, and prior to the stock market open. And as soon as the stock market opened, the stock turned negative. And since then, you know, they were a little bit down, and they had a small push upwards over the last couple of 2 days because they just announced a stock offering, which gives them additional capital to work, which is obviously positive. However, let's have a look into the chart if we have here support for more in the next couple of weeks for the earnings. In the earnings of the last time here under the 50 moving average, which is that, you know, we had like a bearish run here. And since then, we also crossed the 200 moving average, which is not great for a stock, okay? This is usually a sign of a bearish movement. But what happened here, and this is now important, that they are staying above the 50 and 200 moving average, you know, that the jump here of the 11% plus will be sustainable. Because if not, then actually we could go further down, and this would be a downtrend for the stock. And the only way to exceed that would be a fantastic earnings. So it's a little bit tricky here. It's not so, let's say, clear like we had it in the snap stock chart, but it's definitely quite interesting point where the stock can go, and it could go in both directions quite significantly. Okay, here we have seen back in the February of 2020 what can happen to a stock like that, you know, once it crossed the moving average. Obviously we had then the overall situation with the health crisis, but you know, as soon as the stock goes below the 50 moving average, you can accept you know, that it loses here some swagger. Let's say here, for example, we went through the 50 moving average and lost from 20 back to 15 or 16. So it's it stays interesting with this one. So let's dive further to the next one. Okay, we know that Tesla is doing insane, okay? Tesla is just bringing more and more cars on the street, and Tesla and Elon Musk are doing impossible things possible. Now, there was some clues over the time that actually Tesla CEO Elon Musk said that the sales numbers were crazy. So end of this month, so in the 1st or the 2nd of October, depending on the weekday, we should have the numbers. So this will be a small indication of where we are going with the earnings. But I think, you know, with more and more maturity into the business of Tesla and showing that, for example, the chip shortage is not so effective on Tesla like on other car manufacturers, there's another click for investors out there. And that's why I think that we should have seen here much room to grow. And there's actually even important support from the chart. So let's dive into the chart right now. Here you can see that it's pretty much an upper trend here, okay? So Tesla did something very nice here. It crossed the 50 moving average. It stayed over the 200 moving average. So it's a pretty nice setup here to really go higher. And I expect the stock over the next years anyway to go pretty high. But I think that the Q3 could be a nice event to push the stock to $800 levels or even to all-time high levels. I mean, the next couple of resistance here is for once here, this level approximately, okay, which it almost crossed already. And then the next hurdle that they need to cross is the 888 levels. Okay, so those are the next two, resistance that they have to break through. But other than that, it's a pretty nice setup. I really like that you can see it here. A nice channel since about May that we are, going like a rocket up and now testing higher levels. So Virgin Galactic Space, our favorite stock here in the community and also one of my biggest holdings. Well, why Q3 will be so important for space? Well, for once, we should get an update on the technical side when the space flight will happen that is now scheduled with the Italian Air Force. Second, we should get an update on the FAA. If not prior to the Q3 earnings, and then we have security over there and the stock will rise, obviously, of the good news and the next successful test flight and so on. But this put to the side, one of the most important news in the Q3 will be how much ticket sales there will be, okay? And there could be a huge surprise because I think some people just underestimate how much potential this stock and this company has. So with other ways said, I think we could have a great Q3 report and then a Q4 outlook, and then it's just about 2-3 quarters until we really start commercialization of the space fleet and sending people up into space. Will the stock chart give us a great opportunity to do this as well? Let's have a look. Let's talk about space. As you can see here, even with the latest 8% gain, we are still into a downtrend. Okay, we broke through everything. We broke through the 50 moving average. We broke through the 200 moving average. So it could be that we are seeing even lower numbers here. But as you can see, as lower we go, the 50 moving average is actually following. Okay, so with the earnings, it could be that we jump quite heavily. As you can see, we had these jumps over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm not afraid that the stock can go to 18 or to 40. Okay, I'm loving this stock. I'm loving this company long term. I'm thinking decades, guys. Okay, so here's a really potential opportunity to multiply my money. So definitely downtrend. Let's see if the earnings can change that very soon. Last but not least, LOVESAC. Yeah, the very interesting name for a company out there, but I think that what is really cool about it is that I really like the company, how it's doing. Okay, if you want to have more information about this company, check out the other videos that I posted. I posted a general overview, earnings review of the last earnings, and the Q3 earnings will be a little bit last. Okay, so I think maybe somewhere in November because they just had earnings. So I think it takes some little bit time. So they're on the end of the earnings season, and that's why I posted this at the end of this video, because I think that they having a kind of run, a kind of momentum, and if the stock and the company has a momentum, it's very hard to stop, specifically now when the people coming back from vacation saying, we will spend now a lot of time at home because it's cold outside, so let's get a new sofa, right? So I think we got into a kind of seasonality. So let's have a look what the stock chart actually says. Earnings report, we actually created a very bullish scenario. Okay, so back in June, where the stock reached an all-time high of $90, we are now at 66. We actually crossed the 50 moving average and also crossed the 200 moving average, and then I said, wow, this is now a great opportunity to load up this boat. Okay, so here I started to buy, and then the earnings came out and just mind blowed everyone, and now we also crossed the 50 and 200 moving average. And you actually see, if I'm pulling out here the daily chart, you actually see that every day, almost every day, we are having this jump over 4, 5, 6%, and then going a little bit under over the whole day. So you can see here that this is now something that you see here more often. Again, here a jump over 4-5%, and then going down again. So the stock want to really have a bigger number, and we are definitely over those bullish signs. So it just should take a couple of great days on the stock market in general, and then this company will fly, and with earnings or great earnings again, this company will see 90 faster than you can say LOVESAC.